More needs to be done to increase access to electricity in Africa. One way of doing this is through private-public partnerships. Barrick Gold CEO and President Mark Bristow was also in attendance at the summit, and Dowling caught up with him to ask the reasons why mining companies are heavily invested in electricity.
It is very important to be here, and I think the whole concept of this summit is about uplifting people out of poverty and reaching into the communities. And that's exactly what mining brings. It brings not only mining, but infrastructure, employment. And so there's a natural partnership here. And as you know, Barrick's relationship with Tanzania goes a long way back. And recently, over the last 5 years, we've built a real partnership with Tanzania and shown that as miners we are stewards of national assets. And to your point, not only do we need power, we need people, we need infrastructure. And so it does fit.
Let's talk about sentiment on the ground, right? There's been a lot of talk about collaboration, a lot of talk about partnerships between the public sector and the private sector. What's the sentiment on the ground? Is there appetite to invest? Are private sector players willing to play their part?
I think, Africa today is going through a challenging time when many African countries are demanding more. And are not seeing the connectivity between the importance of attracting investors so that you can get the benefits for the people. So I think that conversation has to be had, and there's no better place to have it than in Tanzania, which really does embrace that philosophy. It's changed its regulations, it's reached out to investors. And again, when you look at how it's dealt with its power challenges, it's worried about infrastructure and reaching the people, and as investors, private investors, private business in this country, the change in the government's attitude towards investment has really been invigorating. And I always say to anybody who wants to listen, investment is shy, and when you make it feel at home, it stays. And Tanzania has been one of those countries for us.
You touched on something quite important there, regulation, and you spoke about how Tanzania has made some changes within their regulatory framework, and it makes the private players feel a bit more comfortable within the environment. Barrick doesn't just operate within East Africa. There are other operations in other African countries. What does that look like? Are governments more willing to bend, or are they more flexible on that front as well?
I always say if we do it together, we can do it better. And that's, I think, what needs to happen in Africa. We go through these phases where people recognize the importance of investment, and they go out of their way to attract that investment. And then they spend a lot of time harvesting and winding back that positive impact. And right now across Africa, there's a big focus on what African governments can get out of this, of investments, or particularly of industries. And we need to attract more investment into Africa, and this power challenge is a real challenge, because I always say you can put batteries in all the cars in California, but if you don't uplift the people out of poverty, those people that have been left behind by society, you will not create a planet for our future generations. And so it is about public-private partnership. And there's a need in Africa, and even in this conference, for more private enterprise to be part of this conversation.
That was Mark Bristow, the CEO and President at Barrick Gold Corporation.